Hey guys, tonight we begin a journey into a world often painted with strokes of romance and nobility, a world of sweeping grasslands, thundering buffalo herds, and a people living in perfect harmony with nature. We're traveling back in time to the northern plains of North America to understand what life was really like for the people who called it home. Forget the Hollywood version, with its poetic wisdom and effortless survival. The truth is, for the average person in a plains clan, life was an endless, grinding battle against forces that could extinguish you in a heartbeat. It was a life of profound hardship, constant vigilance, and a level of discomfort that most of us today can scarcely comprehend. So, before you get too comfortable, if you enjoy these deep dives into the unvarnished past, take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It truly helps these stories find others who appreciate them. And as always, I love to see our global community, so let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is in your corner of the world. Now dim the lights. Maybe turn on a fan for that soft, whispering hum. Settle in, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. We're going to explore why, for all its spiritual depth and cultural richness, daily life in a Native American clan on the northern plains was an exercise in brutal, unrelenting survival. Congratulations, you've just been born. Not into a climate-controlled hospital with sterile sheets and gentle nurses, but onto a greasy, smoke-blackened buffalo robe on the dirt floor of a tipi. Your first breath isn't of clean, filtered air, but a lungful of acrid wood smoke, the smell of tanning hides, unwashed bodies, and cooking meat, all mingling into a perfume that will be the scent of your entire existence. This is your world now, the Great Plains of the 17th or 18th century, before the horse became common, a vast, unforgiving ocean of grass under a sky so enormous it feels like a weight. Your family, your clan, is a tiny, nomadic island of humanity in this immensity, and your chances of reaching adulthood are, to put it mildly, not great. Let's begin with your home. The tipi is an architectural marvel, a masterpiece of nomadic design. It's warm in the winter, cool in the summer, and can be broken down and moved in under an hour. This is the romantic version. The reality is that you share this conical space, perhaps 15 feet in diameter, with your parents, your siblings, maybe a grandparent or two, a widowed aunt, and a few dogs who are considered part of the family but have never once been bathed. Privacy is not a word that exists in your language. Every cough, every whisper, every argument, every moment of intimacy is a public event. You spend your infancy swaddled tightly in a cradleboard, a mixture of soft moss and cattail fluff serving as your diaper. It's efficient, but you are functionally immobile for the first year of your life, strapped to your mother's back or propped against the tipi wall, observing the world from a single, fixed vantage point. As you grow, you learn the fundamental laws of your universe. The first is cold. The northern plains winter is not a gentle snow globe affair. It is a murderous, monolithic entity of cold. Temperatures plummet to 40, 50, even 60 degrees below zero, with winds that can freeze exposed skin in minutes. Your tipi, for all its ingenuity, is still just a shell of stitched-together buffalo hides. Your family stuffs grass and moss into the gaps, piles snow against the outer walls, and keeps a small, smoky fire smouldering in the center. But the cold is a physical presence. It creeps in through the smoke hole at the top, seeps up from the frozen ground beneath you, and breathes through the hide walls. You sleep huddled together with your entire family under a mountain of heavy, greasy buffalo robes, fighting for a spot in the middle, the place of maximum warmth. To be on the edge is to wake with your hair frozen to the hide wall and a layer of frost on your blanket. The fire is your only real defense, but fuel is scarce. Wood is a luxury found only in the river valleys. Most of the time, the fire is fed with dried buffalo dung, or buffalo chips. They burn hot but fast, and it's a constant, round-the-clock job for someone, probably you, once you're old enough, to keep feeding the flames. Let the fire go out on a winter night, and you might not wake up. The smoke is your second constant companion. With the smoke flaps of the tipi mostly closed to conserve heat, the interior becomes a thick, hazy fog. Your eyes sting and water constantly. Your lungs are permanently seasoned with soot. Respiratory infections, what you might call a winter cough, are a constant threat, and for the very young or the very old, they are often a death sentence. Your second fundamental law is hunger. Life on the plains is a brutal cycle of feast and famine. When the buffalo are running and the hunts are successful, you gorge. You eat until your stomach is painfully distended, packing on fat as a defense against the lean times you know are coming. But when the herds move on, or when the hunt fails, or when a blizzard pins you in your tippy for weeks, hunger becomes a living creature, gnawing at you from the inside. You learn to eat things that would make a modern stomach recoil. In times of desperation, you eat your own leather moccasins, boiled until they are a gelatinous, unappetizing goo. You eat mice, grasshoppers, pounded roots that are more fiber than food, the inner bark of trees. Your parents tell you stories of the starving winter a few years back, when families had to abandon the old and the weak to die, simply because there was not a single scrap of food to give them. This is not a distant, abstract horror. It is a recent memory, a future possibility. Your childhood is not a time of carefree play. It is an apprenticeship for survival. As soon as you can walk, you are put to work. As a small boy, you learn to make toy bows and hunt birds, squirrels, and rabbits. Your first kill is a moment of great pride, not because it's a sport, but because you have contributed a tiny morsel of meat to the family's pot. You learn to track, to be silent, to endure pain without complaint. A moment of carelessness, a loud step, could scare away the game that stands between your family and starvation. As a young girl, your education is equally rigorous. You learn to identify edible plants, roots, and berries. You spend hours with your mother and aunts, learning the back-breaking work of processing a buffalo hide, a task that requires scraping, stretching, tanning with a paste of brain and liver, and smoking for days on end. You learn to sew with an awl and sinew, to cook over a smoky fire, to care for younger siblings, and to haul water from the nearest stream, which might be a half-mile walk in the freezing cold. There is no school. Your classroom is the prairie, and the final exam is surviving another day. This is your world. Not a romantic landscape of noble warriors and spiritual harmony, but a cold, hard, beautiful, and terrifying place where life is stripped to its absolute essence, the relentless, moment-to-moment struggle to simply stay alive. You've survived infancy and are now a child of the plains. Let's talk about what it means to stay clean, or more accurately, how you don't. The modern concept of hygiene is a foreign universe. There is no running water, no soap, no deodorant, no toothbrush, and certainly no toilet paper. Your morning routine begins by crawling out from under a pile of sleeping family members and dogs. The air is thick with the smell of stale sleep, smoke, and the lingering aroma of whatever was cooked last night. You might splash some water on your face from a water skin, but this water was likely hauled yesterday and is now lukewarm or frigid, depending on the season. If it's winter, the water skin might be frozen solid. Bathing is a rare, seasonal luxury. In the summer, you might swim in a river or a stream, a communal activity that is as much about play and socializing as it is about getting clean. But the water is also used for drinking, for cooking, and as a toilet for animals and people upstream. The understanding of germ theory is millennia away. A refreshing swim could also be an invitation to dysentery or other waterborne illnesses that can kill a child in days. In winter, bathing is almost completely out of the question. The idea of exposing your entire body to the lethal cold is insane. Even if you were brave enough, the process would be a monumental undertaking. You'd have to haul buckets of water, spend a precious amount of fuel to heat it over the fire, and then bathe in a small wooden bowl or hide basin inside the smoky, crowded tipi. Most people simply don't bother. Instead, you rely on other methods. A sweat lodge is used for spiritual and physical purification. Men and sometimes women crowd into a small dome-like structure. Hot rocks are placed in a central pit, and water is poured over them, creating an intense, purifying steam. You sweat out impurities and pray, emerging cleansed in body and spirit. But this is a special ceremony, not a daily bath. For everyday cleanliness, you might rub yourself with sage or other aromatic herbs to cover up the smell of sweat and grime. Your hair, which is a source of great pride, is long and thick. You might comb it with a porous bone or a bundle of stiff grass. To deal with lice, a constant and universal affliction, you and your family members spend hours grooming each other, picking the tiny insects from one another's hair. It's a tedious but essential social ritual. What about dental hygiene? You have no toothbrush, no toothpaste. You might chew on a piece of fibrous root or a twig to scrape your teeth clean. Your diet, low in sugar, is your primary defense against cavities. But it's also incredibly tough and abrasive. You eat dried, leathery meat and pound roots that are full of grit. Over time, your teeth are worn down, sometimes to the gums. An infected tooth or an abscess is not a simple problem to be fixed by a dentist. It is an agonizing, life-threatening crisis. The infection can spread to your jaw and bloodstream, leading to a slow, painful death. The only cure is to have the tooth pulled, likely by a designated elder using a piece of sinew and a sharp tug, with nothing to numb the pain but your own stoicism. And then there is the matter of relieving yourself. There are no bathrooms or outhouses. You simply walk a polite distance from the camp, find a secluded spot, and do your business. In the summer, this is a minor inconvenience. In the winter, it's a trial. You have to trudge through deep snow in sub-zero temperatures, expose your bare skin to the biting wind, and squat in the frozen landscape. It's a moment of extreme vulnerability, not just to the cold, but to predators or an enemy scout. You learn to be very, very quick. For wiping, you use what nature provides, a handful of grass in the summer, a clump of snow in the winter, or a smooth stone. This lack of sanitation has consequences. The ground around the camp, especially a winter camp where you might stay for months, becomes contaminated. This filth attracts pests and breeds disease. A sudden outbreak of sickness, what you might call bad guts, could sweep through the camp, weakening everyone and leaving the clan vulnerable. Life is a constant negotiation with filth. You are never truly clean. You are perpetually greasy from buffalo fat, which is rubbed on the skin as a protection against the cold and sun. Your clothes, made of hide, are rarely washed and are stiff with dirt and grease. This isn't because you are lazy or uncivilized. It's because the energy and resources required for modern standards of cleanliness are simply unthinkable. Your world is one of earth, smoke, grease, and sweat. It's the smell of survival. The central obsession of your entire life. The pivot around which every day, every season, and every ritual turns is food. The Great Plains, for all its bounty, is not a gentle provider. It offers everything you need to live, but it makes you fight for every single calorie. The concept of 3 square meals a day is an absurdity. Your life is an endless pendulum swinging between periods of incredible abundance and terrifying scarcity. Let's start with the feast. When the great herds of buffalo are near and the hunt has been successful, the camp is transformed. It is a time of unrestrained joy and frantic activity. The air, already thick with smoke, now hangs heavy with the smell of roasting meat. Fires burn day and night. Everyone, from the smallest child to the oldest elder, eats until they are physically sick. You gorge on fresh liver, warm and rich with blood. You toast chunks of hump meat, the most prized part of the buffalo, sizzling with fat, over the open flames. You crack open bones to suck out the marrow, a pure, high-energy shot of nutrients. This is not gluttony. It is a biological imperative. Your body is a vessel, and you are filling it for the hard times ahead. You pack on layers of fat, a living insulation against the cold, and a fuel reserve for the inevitable famine. During these times of plenty, the social fabric of the clan is reinforced. Meat is shared according to strict cultural rules. The successful hunter who brought down the buffalo does not get the best cuts. Those are distributed to the elders, to the families of men who were killed in a recent raid, to the widows and orphans. Generosity is the highest virtue, because everyone knows that next week it could be their family that is hungry, and they will depend on the generosity of others. But this period of plenty is fleeting. The buffalo herds are constantly moving, following the grass. Your clan must follow them, and sometimes the herds disappear. A shift in the weather, a prairie fire hundreds of miles away, or reasons known only to the buffalo themselves, and the great provider vanishes. This is when the famine begins. The gnawing hunger starts as a dull ache and grows into a constant, agonizing companion. The laughter in the camp fades. The children become listless. The dogs, once fat and lazy, are now gaunt and wolf-like. The stores of dried meat, the pemmican, are carefully rationed. Pemmican is the true superfood of the plains. It is a brick of concentrated life. Lean meat, pounded into a powder, is mixed with rendered buffalo fat and dried berries, like chokecherries or juneberries. It's an energy bar that can last for years if stored properly. It's dense, greasy, and doesn't taste like much, but a small handful can keep a man walking for a full day. During the lean times, this is your breakfast, lunch, and dinner. When the pemmican runs low, you turn to other sources. Women and children spend their days scouring the prairie. They dig for tough, starchy roots like the prairie turnip. They gather berries, seeds, and wild onions. They learn to distinguish the edible plants from the poisonous ones through generations of trial and error curriculum where the price of failure is a swift and painful death. You hunt smaller game. Rabbits, prairie dogs, gophers, birds. Nothing is wasted. Even mice are a welcome addition to the pot. When the hunger is truly desperate, the clan might resort to eating their dogs. This is a heartbreaking decision. The dogs are companions, helpers, and family members. To eat them is a sign that things have reached a critical point. You learn to read the landscape with an intimacy that is lost to the modern world. You know which way a creek flows by the bend of the grass. You know what insects are edible after a rain. You know the subtle signs that a prairie dog town is nearby. Your world is a living textbook of survival, and you are a student every moment of every day. The psychological toll of this cycle is immense. You live with a constant, low-level anxiety about food. A successful hunt brings not just relief, but a frantic urgency to consume and preserve. A failed hunt brings a quiet, creeping dread. You watch the elders grow weaker, the children cry from hunger, and you feel a helplessness that is a cold, hard knot in your stomach. This is the reality of your relationship with nature. It is not a gentle, romantic harmony. It is a brutal, intimate dance of respect and desperation. Nature is your mother, your provider, but she is also a stern and unforgiving teacher. She gives you everything you need to live, but she demands your absolute, undivided attention, and she will punish a moment of laziness or inattention with the slow, agonizing pain of an empty belly. The buffalo is life. It is not an animal to you. It is a walking miracle, a sacred gift from the Creator. It provides your food, your shelter, your clothing, your tools, your weapons, your everything. The health of your clan is tied directly to the health of the herd. When the buffalo are strong, you are strong. When they vanish, you starve. Consequently, the buffalo hunt is the most important economic and spiritual event in your people's existence. Forget the image of a lone warrior on horseback, gracefully felling a beast with a single well-aimed arrow. Before the arrival of the horse in significant numbers, hunting the buffalo was a far more terrifying and communal affair. A single man on foot stood little chance against a 2,000-pound animal that could run 35 miles an hour and turn on a dime. Hunting was a group effort, a triumph of strategy and courage over brute force. One of the most effective methods is the buffalo jump. Your clan's shamans and scouts have spent days, perhaps weeks, locating a herd and observing its movements. They find the perfect spot, a high, steep cliff, a precipice of death. Then the work begins. The clan builds a long V-shaped funnel of rock piles, brush, and hidden people, stretching for miles from the cliff's edge out onto the prairie. The most agile and fearless young men of the clan are chosen as runners. Their job is to startle the herd and drive it towards the funnel. This is suicidally dangerous work. A runner might disguise himself in a buffalo or wolf hide, creeping close to the herd, making noises, waving his robe, trying to get the massive animals to start moving in the right direction. One wrong move, one shift in the wind, and the herd could stampede in the wrong direction, trampling him into the dust. As the herd begins to move, a slow, thundering river of muscle and horn, the entire community comes to life. People hidden behind the rock piles jump up, shouting, waving hides, creating a wall of sound and terror that forces the panicked animals deeper into the funnel. The V narrows, the panic escalates, and the buffalo, now at a full, blind gallop, have nowhere to go but forward. You, as a child, are part of this. You are screaming until your throat is raw, your heart pounding with a mixture of terror and exhilaration. The ground shakes beneath your feet. The air is thick with dust and the thundering roar of 10,000 hooves. And then, the moment of truth. The lead animals reach the cliff's edge. They try to stop, but the immense pressure of the herd behind them is unstoppable. They are pushed over the edge, and the rest of the herd follows, a waterfall of living bodies crashing onto the rocks below. The scene at the bottom of the cliff is a vision of carnage, a tangled mass of dead and dying animals, groaning, kicking, their legs shattered. The hunt is not over. Men rush in with spears and clubs to finish off the wounded animals. It's dangerous, chaotic work. A dying bull, in its last throes, can still gore a man. The emotional release is immense. The clan has food. They have survived. There are shouts of joy, prayers of thanks to the spirits of the buffalo for giving their lives. But now, the hardest work imaginable is about to begin. The feast is still days away. First, you must face the mountain of meat. After the arrival of the horse, the hunt changes. It becomes more individualized, but no less dangerous. A hunter on a specially trained buffalo horse can ride directly into the stampeding herd. The noise is deafening. The dust is blinding. His horse, running at full speed, must dodge gopher holes that could snap its leg and send both horse and rider tumbling under the hooves of the herd. The hunter must guide his horse with his knees, leaving his hands free to wield a short, powerful bow or a long lance. He must get incredibly close, riding alongside the thundering beast, to find the small, vital spot behind the front leg where an arrow or a lance can pierce the lungs. He might get only 1 or 2 shots before his horse tires or the herd outruns him. It is a breathtaking display of skill, but death is a constant partner in this dance. A horse stumbles, a buffalo turns unexpectedly, and a man can vanish under the herd in a split second, his body so thoroughly trampled that he is unrecognizable. Whether on foot or on horseback, the hunt is the ultimate test. It requires courage, skill, patience, and a deep spiritual connection. You pray before the hunt, you give thanks after. You understand that the buffalo gives its life so that you may live. This is the sacred covenant that governs your world. It is a covenant written in dust, muscle, and blood. The hunt is over. The last of the groaning buffalo at the bottom of the cliff has been silenced. A single, successful jump might yield dozens, even hundreds of animals. You now stand before a mountain of meat, hide, and bone, and the smell of fresh blood is thick in the air. The celebration can wait. Now begins the real work, a frantic, non-stop race against decay. And this work falls almost entirely on the women of the clan. Your mother, your aunts, your older sisters, their hands and arms are already stained red. They move with an efficiency born of endless practice, their stone or bone knives flashing. For the next few days, no one will sleep more than a few hours. The clock is ticking. In the summer heat, a buffalo carcass can begin to spoil in less than a day. The first task is skinning. A single buffalo hide can weigh over 100 pounds, and it must be removed with care. A clumsy cut can ruin a section of the hide, rendering it useless for a tippy cover or a winter robe. The women work in teams, slicing through the thick skin, their muscles straining. Once the hide is off, the butchering begins. The carcass is a vast anatomical puzzle, and the women are master surgeons. Nothing, and that means nothing, is wasted. The tongue, liver, heart, and kidneys are eaten fresh, often right there on the butchering grounds. The great slabs of muscle are carved away. The hump meat, the tenderloins, the rumpole are set aside. The intestines are cleaned and braided, to be roasted or used as containers. The stomach can be turned into a water bag or a cooking vessel, a natural pot. You, as a child, have a job. You might be tasked with carrying buckets of water from the stream to wash the intestines, or you might gather the buffalo chips that will fuel the drying fires. Or you might simply be in charge of shooing away the wolves and coyotes that have gathered at the edge of the camp, drawn by the scent of blood, their eyes glowing in the twilight. The sheer volume of meat is staggering. A single buffalo can provide over 500 pounds of usable meat. If the hunt yielded 100 animals, your small clan is now responsible for processing 50 pounds of meat before it rots. It is an industrial operation powered by human muscle. Most of the meat must be preserved. The women slice it into thin, paper-like sheets. These sheets are then hung on wooden racks to dry in the sun and wind. Fires are kept burning below the racks, and the smoke helps to cure the meat and keep the flies away. You spend your days turning the meat, ensuring it dries evenly. Your world is a blur of red meat, grey smoke, and the constant buzzing drone of flies. While some women process the meat, others work on the hides. This is perhaps the most grueling task of all. A fresh hide is heavy and stiff. It must be staked to the ground, flesh side up. The women then scrape away every last bit of fat and muscle tissue using tools made from bone or stone. It's back-breaking, repetitive work that can take hours for a single hide. Once scraped, the hide is flipped and the hair is scraped off. Then comes the tanning. To soften the hide and make it into usable leather, it must be treated. The preferred tanning agent is a paste made from the buffalo's own brain, liver, and fat. The women rub this greasy, smelly concoction deep into the pores of the hide. Then they must work the hide, stretching it, pulling it, rubbing it over a smooth log or a taut rope for hours and hours until it transforms from a stiff, unwieldy board into soft, pliable buckskin. Your hands ache just watching them. Their knuckles are raw, their backs are bowed, but they do not stop. Even the bones are used. Large bones are cracked for their marrow. Shoulder blades are fashioned into hoes and scrapers. Ribs can be used as sled runners or in toys for children. Horns are carved into spoons, cups, and powder horns. The sinew along the backbone is dried and used as thread. The hooves are boiled to make glue. The tail becomes a fly swatter. The buffalo is disassembled and repurposed with an ingenuity that leaves nothing to chance and nothing to waste. For days, the camp is a whirlwind of methodical, exhausting labor. The women's arms are caked in dried blood and grease. Their muscles scream in protest, but they work with a focused, communal energy. They sing as they work, their songs telling stories of the hunt, of the buffalo, of their gratitude. It is a sacred duty. They are transforming the gift of the buffalo into the substance of their people's lives. Without this frantic, brutal, and skilled labor, the successful hunt would mean nothing. The men bring the buffalo down, but it is the women who turn death into life. In your world, clothing is not about fashion, it is about function. Your entire wardrobe is derived from the bodies of animals, primarily deer, antelope, and of course the buffalo. Forget the pristine white buckskin suits you see in movies. Real Plains clothing was a testament to hard-won survival, and it was often greasy, smoky, and stiff. After the women have spent countless hours tanning a hide, turning it into soft leather, the work of making clothes begins. A woman's basic garment is a simple dress, often made from 2 entire deer hides stitched together. A man wears a breechcloth, leggings, and a shirt in colder weather. The sewing is not done with a needle and thread, but with a sharpened bone awl and sinew. Poking holes through tough hide and pulling the sinew through is slow, difficult work. A single shirt could take weeks to complete. Your clothes are your second skin. In the summer, you might wear very little, a simple breechcloth or a short skirt. Your skin, toughened by the sun and wind, is its own protection. But the plains sun is relentless, and the insects are a constant torment. To protect your skin, you and your family members often coat yourselves in a layer of animal fat or grease. This acts as a sunscreen, a moisturizer, and an insect repellent all in one. It also means you are perpetually sticky and attract a fine layer of dust wherever you go. Winter clothing is a matter of life and death. The masterpiece of your wardrobe is the buffalo robe. This is a full hide with the thick, woolly hair left on. It is your coat, your blanket, and your shelter. A well-made robe is heavy and surprisingly warm, but it's also cumbersome. When it gets wet, it becomes incredibly heavy and can take days to dry by the smoky fire. You have no rain jacket. When a sudden thunderstorm sweeps across the prairie, your hide clothes become soaked, cold, and heavy. You learn to endure the feeling of damp leather clinging to your skin. Mold and mildew are a constant battle. Clothes stored improperly can be ruined in a matter of weeks. Footwear is one of your biggest challenges. Your moccasins are made of soft, tanned hide. They are comfortable and allow you to feel the ground beneath you, a crucial skill for silent hunting. But they are not durable. Walking across the rocky, cactus-strewn prairie, you can wear through a pair of moccasins in a few weeks. The women in your family are constantly making new pairs. A hole in your moccasin is not a minor inconvenience. A sharp rock or a cactus spine can cause a cut that, in a world without antibiotics, could lead to a fatal infection. In the winter, you stuff your moccasins with dry grass or fur for insulation, but they are not waterproof. Walking through wet snow means your feet are soaked and freezing, putting you at constant risk of frostbite. Decoration on clothing, the intricate beadwork and quillwork now seen in museums, was a sign of prestige and a labor of intense love. It was not everyday wear. It was reserved for ceremonial occasions, or for the wealthy and powerful. The tiny beads were acquired through trade and were incredibly valuable. Quill work involved softening porcupine quills, flattening them, dyeing them with natural pigments, and meticulously embroidering them onto hide. It was an art form that required immense patience and skill. Your everyday clothes are plain, functional, and stained with the evidence of your life. Grease spots, blood stains, and the dark patina of wood smoke. You learn to care for your clothes because you may only have one or two full outfits. A rip or a tear is carefully mended. When a garment is too worn to be repaired, it is repurposed. A section of an old shirt might become a patch for a newer one, or a patch for the tippy, or a wrap for a tool. Your relationship with your clothing is intimate. It is not a disposable commodity. It is a shield, a tool, a product of immense labor, and a direct connection to the animals that gave their lives for your survival. It smells of smoke and earth and life. It is the armor you wear in your daily battle for existence. In your world, there are no doctors, no nurses, no hospitals, and no pharmacies. Your health is a fragile commodity, protected only by your own toughness, the folk wisdom of your elders, and the intervention of the spirit world. An injury or illness that would be a minor inconvenience in the modern world can be a death sentence for you. Let's say you're running through the prairie and you fall, breaking your leg. There is no emergency room. There are no X-rays to see the extent of the damage. There is no plaster cast. Your family members will do their best. They will try to set the bone, forcing it back into alignment in a moment of excruciating, blinding pain. They will then lash your leg to a rigid piece of wood with strips of wet rawhide. As the rawhide dries, it shrinks, creating a tight, natural cast. Now, you must lie still for weeks inside the tipi. Every jostle, every movement sends a shockwave of agony through your body. The risk of infection is enormous. If the bone has broken the skin, dirt and bacteria have already entered the wound. You develop a fever. The leg swells and turns dark. The shaman, the medicine man, is called. He does not work with medicine as we know it. He works with spiritual power. He will perform a ceremony, shaking a rattle, chanting prayers to the spirits, perhaps using a poultice of chewed herbs to draw out the bad spirits from the wound. His power is real and deeply believed in, but it cannot fight a raging bacterial infection. If the infection spreads, you will die of sepsis, slowly and in agony. If you are incredibly lucky and the leg heals, it will likely heal crooked. You will walk with a limp for the rest of your life, a permanent disadvantage in a world that demands physical perfection for survival. Common illnesses are a constant threat. A simple cold can turn into pneumonia, a deadly killer in the smoky, damp environment of a winter tipi. Outbreaks of dysentery or other intestinal diseases, likely from contaminated water or food, can sweep through a camp, weakening everyone. The only treatments are herbal remedies passed down through generations. Willow bark for a fever, a type of natural aspirin. Yarrow to stop bleeding. Coneflower as a primitive immune booster. Some of these remedies are effective. Others are based more on superstition than science. For many illnesses, there is simply nothing to be done but to wait, pray, and hope your own body is strong enough to fight it off. Childbirth is a particularly dangerous time for both mother and child. A woman gives birth in the teepee, attended by her female relatives and perhaps a midwife, an older woman with experience. It is a female-only space. The men are sent away. The process is managed with a deep understanding of natural labor. But if something goes wrong, if the baby is in the wrong position, if the mother hemorrhages, there is very little anyone can do. The maternal and infant mortality rates are brutally high. Almost every family has lost a child, or a mother in childbirth. Grief is a constant, quiet thread in the fabric of your community. Even the environment is a medical threat. Snow blindness, a painful burning of the cornea from the sun's glare on the snow, is common in winter. The only cure is to sit in the darkness of the tipi for days, your eyes covered with a damp cloth. Sunburn and windburn can crack and damage the skin, and the ever-present insects, mosquitoes, biting flies, ticks are not just an annoyance, they are carriers of disease. Your life is a testament to the resilience of the human body. Your immune system is strong, conditioned from birth to fight off a constant barrage of pathogens. Your pain tolerance is immense. You learn from a young age to ignore minor pains and to endure major ones without complaint, as crying or showing weakness can be seen as a spiritual failing. You live with the daily, intimate knowledge of your own physical fragility. Your body is the only tool you truly own, and you know that if it breaks, there is no one to fix it but the spirits and time. The romantic image of warfare on the plains often involves thousands of warriors engaged in epic, glorious battles. This was an exceedingly rare occurrence. For you, warfare is a much more personal, terrifying, and constant reality. It is a low-level, endemic part of your existence. a form of violent friction between your clan and your neighbors. The primary reasons for this conflict are not conquest or ideology. They are survival and prestige. The most valuable commodity on the plains, after the buffalo, is the horse. Horses mean mobility, they mean success in hunting, and they mean status. The easiest way to acquire horses is to steal them from your enemies. Consequently, the horse raid is the most common form of warfare. Imagine you are asleep in your tipi. The fires have burned low. The only sound is the wind and the soft breathing of your family. Suddenly, the camp erupts. The dogs are barking frantically. There are shouts, screams, the thunder of hooves. A raiding party from a rival clan has slipped into the camp under the cover of darkness. Their goal is not to kill everyone. Their goal is to steal horses. But chaos and violence are inevitable. They rush the herd, cutting the tethers, driving the horses away into the night. Your clan's men, startled from sleep, grab their weapons, a bow, a club, a spear, and rush out to defend their property. The fighting is swift, brutal, and personal. It is not organized lines of soldiers. It is a confusing melee in the darkness. You might see your father or your uncle clubbed from behind, or shot with an arrow. The enemy is not an anonymous soldier in a uniform. It is a man from the clan over the next ridge, a man whose face you might even recognize. If the raiders are successful, they vanish into the night with your clan's most valuable assets. Your family, which yesterday was wealthy with many horses, is now poor and on foot, their ability to hunt and move severely crippled. Sometimes, the violence is more targeted. A revenge party might be formed to avenge the death of a clan member killed in a previous raid. This is not a large army. It is a small group of warriors, perhaps a dozen men, who travel deep into enemy territory. Their goal is to kill one or two of the enemy and escape. They rely on stealth, patience, and surprise. They might lie in wait for days near an enemy camp, watching for an opportunity to ambush a lone hunter or a small group of women gathering wood. This form of warfare is a cycle of tit-for-tat violence, a blood feud that can simmer between two groups for generations. For a young man, participation in warfare is the primary path to status and prestige. A man's reputation is built on his coups acts of bravery performed against an enemy. The highest honor is not to kill an enemy, but to touch him with your hand or a special coup stick and escape unharmed. This is an act of supreme courage and skill. Stealing a horse from the center of an enemy camp, or being the first to spot the enemy, are also acts that bring great honor. A man recounts his coups in public gatherings, and his status in the community rises with each act of bravery. But this quest for prestige comes at a terrible cost. The casualty rate among young men is extremely high. Every family has lost a son, a brother, or a father to the constant, low-level warfare. The grief is real and profound. Women will mourn their dead relatives for years, gashing their arms and legs, cutting their hair, and wailing in ritualized sorrow. You live with a constant, background level of fear. Every stranger seen on the horizon is a potential threat. Every night brings the possibility of a raid. You are taught from birth to be vigilant, to be aware of your surroundings. The safety of your camp is not guaranteed by a government or a police force. It is guaranteed only by the watchfulness of your own people and the courage of your warriors. This is the price of life in a world where your neighbor is also your rival, and where the line between peace and violence is as thin as a tipi wall in the dark. In your world, the line between the physical and the spiritual is thin, almost non-existent. The wind, the thunder, the buffalo, the eagle, they are not just natural phenomena. They are the physical manifestations of a vast and complex spirit world that surrounds you, infuses you, and dictates the terms of your existence. This world is not governed by a single, benevolent God. It is populated by a dizzying array of spirits, some helpful, some mischievous, and some terrifyingly malevolent. Your life is a constant effort to maintain balance and harmony with these unseen forces. You do not feel that you have dominion over nature. You feel that you are a small, often insignificant part of it, subject to its whims. A sudden blizzard, a prolonged drought, a mysterious illness, these are not random events. They are the result of spiritual imbalance, a sign that you or your clan has offended one of the powerful beings that control the universe. Everything you do is accompanied by ritual. You offer a prayer and a pinch of tobacco before you take a plant from the earth. You perform a ceremony of thanks to the spirit of the buffalo after a successful hunt. You do not take from the world without asking permission and giving something in return. To do otherwise is to invite disaster. One of the most powerful spiritual concepts in your life is the vision quest. As a young man, and sometimes as a young woman, you will be expected to seek a personal vision from the spirit world. This is your path to power, to understanding your purpose in life. You will go out into the wilderness alone, with no food or water. You will find a sacred, lonely place, perhaps a high butte or a hidden cave. There you will stay for days, fasting, praying, and crying out to the spirits for a vision. The experience is physically and mentally grueling. You are starving, thirsty, and terrified. You are exposed to the elements. You might be visited by animals. You might have hallucinations brought on by dehydration and exhaustion. But if you are worthy, a spirit may take pity on you. It might come to you in a dream, in the form of an animal, a bird, or a mysterious figure. This spirit will become your personal guardian, your source of medicine or spiritual power for the rest of your life. It might teach you a sacred song, show you a special object to put in your medicine bundle, or give you instructions for your life. A man whose medicine is strong is respected and powerful. A man who has no vision is considered weak and unfortunate. But the spirit world is also a source of great fear. There are ghosts, the spirits of those who died in a violent or unhappy way, who can linger and cause trouble for the living. There are monsters, malevolent beings who live in the dark places of the world. There are witches, people within your own clan who might use dark medicine to harm you or your family out of jealousy or spite. You are deeply suspicious of the unknown. A strange noise in the night, an owl hooting at the wrong time, a dream of a certain animal, all of these can be portents, warnings from the spirit world. You rely on the shamans and the elders to interpret these signs. They are the spiritual experts, the ones who know the old stories, the sacred songs, and the complex rituals needed to appease the spirits. If you become sick, it may be because you have broken a taboo, or because a witch has shot a magical object into your body. The shaman will be called to perform a healing ceremony. He will enter a trance, calling on his own spirit, helpers to fight the evil that is afflicting you. He may suck on your body to remove the magical object, producing a small stone or a thorn that he claims was the source of your illness. Whether this is a sleight of hand or a true spiritual battle, your belief in its efficacy is total. Your world is alive, vibrant, and terrifyingly sentient. You are never truly alone. The spirits are always watching. This worldview provides you with a deep sense of meaning and connection, but it also fills your life with a profound sense of caution and a constant, low-level dread. You walk carefully through the world, not just to avoid physical dangers, but to avoid stepping on the unseen toes of the powerful beings who were there long before you and will be there long after you are gone. In the modern world, travel is a form of leisure. For you, it is a fundamental and often grueling necessity of life. Your people are nomadic, not because of a romantic wanderlust, but because you must follow your food source, the buffalo. Your entire existence is a cyclical migration, a slow, patient pursuit of the herds across the vast, featureless expanse of the Great Plains. The concept of a permanent home is alien to you. Your home is the entire prairie, and your camp is a temporary dot on that immense canvas. You might stay in one place for a few weeks, or if it's a good winter camp with plenty of wood and water, a few months. But eventually, you must move. The signal to move might be the dwindling of the local game, the scout's report of a large herd 2 weeks' journey to the west, or the changing of the seasons. Packing up the camp is a whirlwind of efficient activity, and again, it is primarily the work of the women. The teepee, your portable home, is a marvel of engineering. The women take down the hide cover, which might consist of 12 to 20 buffalo hides stitched together, a heavy and awkward object. They take down the long wooden poles that form the structure. Then comes the travois. Before the horse, this was your only moving van, and it was powered by dogs. A travois is a simple A-frame of 2 long poles, with a platform or net in between. The front of the poles is attached to a dog's shoulders, and the back of the poles drags on the ground. All of your worldly possessions must fit on these small, dog-drawn sleds. The folded tippy cover, the cooking pots, the robes, the tools, the babies in their cradle boards, everything is carefully packed and balanced. A clan on the move is a long, slow procession of people and dogs, dragging their entire world behind them. The journey itself is arduous. You walk, and walk, and walk, You might cover 10 to 15 miles on a good day. You walk through knee-high grass, across rocky terrain, through muddy river bottoms. You walk in the scorching summer sun and in the biting winter wind. There are no roads, no bridges. Crossing a river is a major, dangerous undertaking. You might build a small, clumsy raft of logs, or you might create a bull boat, a circular frame of willow covered in a buffalo hide, to ferry the children, the elderly, and the supplies across. These boats are unstable and can easily capsize in a strong current. Many people, especially children, are lost in river crossings. The journey is fraught with peril. A sudden thunderstorm can turn the prairie into a muddy quagmire. A prairie fire, started by lightning miles away, can move faster than a running man, a terrifying wall of flame that consumes everything in its path. You are constantly on the lookout for enemies. A traveling clan is vulnerable, and you might be ambushed by a rival war party. With the arrival of the horse, travel becomes easier and faster, but the fundamental reality remains the same. The horse can pull a much larger travois, allowing you to have a larger tipi and more possessions. But the horse also needs to eat and drink, and the search for good grazing and water dictates your route. The psychological experience of this constant movement is profound. You have an incredible sense of direction and an intimate knowledge of a vast territory. You navigate by the stars, by the shape of the hills on the horizon, by the flow of the streams. You carry a mental map of thousands of square miles in your head. But you also have no sense of permanence. Your life is a series of temporary camps. The place where you were born might be a place you never see again. The place where your grandfather died is an unmarked spot on the endless prairie. You are a wanderer, forever tied to the rhythm of the seasons and the movement of the herds. Your life is not measured in years spent in one place, but in the long, slow, winding line you trace across the face of the continent, a journey of hardship and endurance, powered by your own 2 feet. The social world you inhabit is as complex and demanding as the physical one. You live in a small, tight-knit community where everyone knows everyone else's business. This is your greatest strength and your most oppressive burden. There is no anonymity. Your every action, from how you treat your family to your performance on a hunt, is observed, judged, and remembered by the entire clan. The pressure to conform is immense. Your culture has a strict set of rules, traditions, and taboos that govern every aspect of life. How you speak to an elder, how you share your meat, how you mourn your dead-all. Of these are dictated by customs that have been passed down for generations. To break one of these rules is to risk not just social disapproval but ostracism. And in this world, to be cast out is a death sentence. A lone individual cannot survive on the plains. Your identity is not individualistic, it is communal. You are not primarily you. You are your father's son, your mother's daughter, a member of your extended family, a part of your clan. Your successes bring honor to your family, your failures bring them shame. This creates a powerful sense of belonging and security. You are never truly alone. If your father is killed, his brothers, your uncles will step in to raise you as their own. If you are hungry, a cousin will share their last piece of meat with you. But this communalism also means you have very little personal freedom. Your choices are limited. Your marriage, for instance, is unlikely to be a matter of romantic love. It is a strategic alliance between 2 families. Your parents will choose a spouse for you based on their family's reputation, their wealth in horses, and their social standing. A young woman's virtue is fiercely guarded, as it is considered a family asset. A young man is expected to prove his worth as a hunter and warrior before he can even think of taking a wife. Generosity is the most esteemed virtue, while stinginess is the most despised vice. A successful hunter or a powerful warrior is expected to be constantly giving away his wealth. He hosts feasts, he gives away horses to the poor, he makes sure no one in the camp is hungry or without a robe. This system of redistribution acts as a form of social insurance, ensuring that wealth doesn't get concentrated in the hands of a few, but it also means that personal accumulation of property is almost impossible. The goal is not to be rich, but to be respected for your open-handedness. Conflict within the clan is inevitable, but it is handled with care. A fistfight or a public argument is considered deeply shameful and disruptive to the harmony of the group. Disputes are typically mediated by a council of elders or a respected chief. Their goal is not to punish the guilty, but to restore balance. They might order the offender to make a public apology or to give a gift to the wronged party. If a person is consistently disruptive, a troublemaker who refuses to follow the rules, they might be publicly shamed or, in the most extreme cases, exiled. You live in a world without walls, both literally and figuratively. Your tipi is open to your relatives. Your food is shared with your neighbors. Your life is an open book. This creates a powerful safety net, but it can also be suffocating. You are constantly performing, constantly aware of your social obligations. A moment of selfishness, a fit of anger, a lazy day all unnoticed, and will affect your reputation and the standing of your family. It is a demanding, high-stakes version of living in a small town, where the gossip is constant, the social memory is long, and the consequences of a misstep are far more severe than just an awkward encounter at the local market. By the 18th century, a new force arrived on the plains, an animal that would fundamentally and irrevocably transform your people's way of life: the horse. This was not a native animal. It was the descendant of horses brought to the continent by the Spanish centuries earlier, which had escaped and formed vast wild herds. For your people, the discovery and mastery of the horse was a revolution on the scale of the invention of the wheel or the internet. It changed everything, for better and for worse. Let's start with the better. The horse was a miracle of mobility and power. A man on horseback could hunt buffalo with an efficiency and success rate that was previously unimaginable. He could ride into the herd, kill multiple animals, and transport the meat back to camp with ease. The feast times became more frequent, the famines less severe. The horse could pull a travois 10 times the size of one pulled by a dog, which meant you could have a larger, more comfortable tipi and more personal possessions. Your clan could travel farther and faster, expanding your hunting grounds and trade networks. The horse became the new currency, the ultimate symbol of wealth and status. A man's worth was measured by the size of his horse herd. A man with many horses could support multiple wives, he could be generous with his gifts, and he could mount a war party. The horse elevated the plains cultures to their zenith, creating the iconic, powerful, nomadic buffalo hunting societies that would dominate the heart of the continent for the next 2 centuries. But this new power came at a terrible cost. The horse amplified and intensified the existing conflicts. Raiding, which had been a small-scale affair on foot, now became the central focus of male life. The goal of warfare was now almost exclusively to steal horses. The raids became larger, more frequent, and more deadly. The cycle of revenge and blood feud accelerated. The casualty rates for young men, already high, skyrocketed. The horse also stratified your society. Before the horse, everyone was more or less equal, their wealth limited to what they could carry or what their dogs could drag. But the horse created a new gap between the rich and the poor. A man with a large herd of horses was powerful. A man with no horses was a nobody, dependent on the charity of his relatives. This new inequality created social tensions that hadn't existed before. Furthermore, the horse put immense new pressure on the environment. A large horse herd needed vast amounts of grass and water. This meant your clan had to keep moving more frequently, and it sometimes brought you into direct competition with other clans for the best grazing lands, leading to more conflict. The increased hunting efficiency also began to put a new, unsustainable pressure on the buffalo herds. The horse, in a sense, was a deal with a powerful spirit. It offered you incredible gifts: wealth, power, a golden age of prosperity. But in return, it demanded a higher price in blood, in conflict, and in social upheaval. It made your life richer, more dynamic, and more glorious. It also made it more violent and more precarious. The introduction of the firearm, which happened around the same time through trade, had a similar effect. A gun was a powerful weapon in hunting and warfare, but it also made the killing easier and more impersonal. It further escalated the violence and made your people dependent on white traders for powder and ammunition, drawing you into a new economic web that you did not control. You are living in a time of incredible change and contradiction. You are, in many ways, at the peak of your culture's power. You are masters of the horse, lords of the plains. But the very things that make you powerful are also planting the seeds of your destruction. The world is changing faster than your traditions can keep up, and new, even more powerful forces are gathering on the horizon. If there is a single, monolithic enemy that your people fear above all others, it is winter. The Northern Plains winter is not a season. It is a state of siege. It is a 6-month-long war against a relentless, impartial foe that seeks to freeze, starve, and extinguish you. Surviving the summer is work. Surviving the winter is a miracle. As autumn fades, a sense of urgency grips the camp. The last great buffalo hunts of the year are undertaken. The women work frantically to process every last scrap of meat and every hide. You must enter the winter with as much pemmican, dried meat, and as many warm robes as possible. Your life will depend on these stores. The clan seeks out a winter camp, a sheltered spot, usually in a river valley or a wooded ravine where there is some protection from the wind and, most importantly, a supply of firewood and water that won't freeze solid. Here, you will stay put for months, hunkered down, waiting for the cold to break. The first blizzards of the year are a terrifying spectacle. The world disappears into a churning, horizontal vortex of white. The wind screams like a vengeful spirit, and the temperature plummets. You are trapped in your tipi for days, even weeks at a time. The small, smoky fire is your only source of heat. The family huddles together, sharing body heat, telling stories in low voices to pass the endless hours. The cold is a physical entity. It finds every crack in the tipi. It coats the inside of the hide walls with a thick layer of frost. Your breath freezes in the air. The buffalo robes you sleep under are heavy, but the cold seems to seep right through them. The greatest danger is the night. If the fire goes out, the temperature inside the tipi can quickly fall to lethal levels. Someone is always on watch, feeding the precious fuel into the flames. Food is strictly rationed. The joyous feasts of summer are a distant memory. You eat small, grim meals of dried meat and pemmican. If the stores run low, the gnawing hunger returns, made worse by the intense cold, which forces your body to burn more calories just to stay warm. The children suffer the most. Their cries a constant, heartbreaking sound in the cramped darkness. Boredom is a form of torture. There is little to do but sleep, talk, and repair tools. The endless confinement frays nerves. The lack of privacy becomes unbearable. Arguments break out over small things. The shaman and the elders must work constantly to maintain social harmony, to remind people of their obligations to each other. Sometimes, the men must venture out to hunt. They walk on snowshoes, their faces wrapped in fur, leaning into the biting wind. They are hunting for any small game they can find: a rabbit, a grouse. A successful hunt that brings back even a single animal is cause for a small, precious celebration. But hunting in the deep snow is exhausting and dangerous. A man can easily get lost in a whiteout, wandering in circles until he freezes to death, sometimes just a few hundred yards from the safety of the camp. The psychological toll of the winter is immense. The world is a dead, frozen, monochromatic landscape. The vibrant colors and sounds of summer are gone. It feels as if the world has died and you are trapped in its corpse. You pray for the spring. You perform ceremonies. You watch the sun's arc, looking for the subtle signs that its journey is turning back towards the north. When the winter finally breaks, when the first Chinook winds blow warm and the snow begins to melt, the sense of relief is overwhelming. It is a true resurrection. The clan emerges from their smoke-filled dens, blinking in the bright sun, gaunt and weary, but alive. You have survived. You have won the war for another year. But you know that winter is not defeated. It has only retreated. And in 6 short months it will be back. As the day draws to a close, you find yourself contemplating the relentless, all-encompassing nature of your existence. Life for you is not a series of choices and opportunities. It is a series of non-negotiable tasks dictated by the seasons, the buffalo, and the spirits. Your life has a beauty, a depth, and a spiritual richness that a modern person can only glimpse. You are part of a community, you have a clear purpose, and you are connected to the world around you with an intimacy that is almost unimaginable today. But the cost of this life is staggering. You live on a razor's edge, balanced between survival and extinction. You are haunted by hunger, stalked by cold, and surrounded by violence. You have almost no control over the great forces that shape your life. A blizzard, a drought, an epidemic, a failed hunt, any one of these can wipe you and your family from the face of the earth. You watch your children die from diseases that would be cured today with a single pill. You see your friends and relatives killed in pointless cycles of revenge over stolen property. You endure a level of physical discomfort from the biting insects of summer to the soul-crushing cold of winter that would break most modern people in a single day. You have no art for art's sake, no leisure time, no concept of a vacation. Every ounce of your energy, every moment of your day is dedicated to the grim, unending task of seeing the next sunrise. The romanticized image of your people as free, noble spirits living in a state of natural graces, a profound injustice. It erases your suffering. It cheapens your incredible resilience. It turns your desperate, intelligent, and hard-won survival into a simplistic cartoon. The truth is that your life is hard. It is brutal. And in many ways, it sucks. As darkness gathers once more across the great, silent plains, the wind whispers through the grass. It is the same wind that has blown for 1,000 years, the same wind that will blow long after your clan is a distant memory. It whispers of the buffalo, of the spirits, of the long, cold winter that is always coming. As you pull the heavy, greasy buffalo robe over your shoulders and huddle closer to the smoky fire, you do not think about history or romance or the judgment of future generations. You think of only one thing: surviving the night. Your story, stripped of all illusion, is not one of failure or of a lesser way of life. It is one of the most profound testaments to human endurance ever written. It is a story of a people who faced one of the harshest environments on earth with courage, ingenuity, and a will to live that was as vast and as stubborn as the land itself. In this world, every dawn is a victory, every breath is a prayer, and every heartbeat is a triumph.